X-Files Rewatch podcast. I'm Nick.
And I'm Kim.
And we were missing last week because we were gardening.
It's possibly our worst excuse ever.
But true.
We were indeed gardening, yeah.
It was a lot of effort to clear a pond.
Yeah, we mentioned we moved into our house just before Christmas, and now it's a bit warmer, been trying to do up our rather overgrown garden a bit. Clearing a pond does take a lot of work.
Other than that, I don't think we have much news.
I can give some FileFest updates. So we've been mentioning it for the last few podcasts, but FileFest is the ultimate X-Files fan convention. It's taking place in Minneapolis in the Mall of America, and it's on August 30th and 31st of 2025, which is this year. I have some more updates of more guests that are going to be there, and I've also got some updates about a few late-night events that they've got going. What do you want first?
Let's have some guests then.
Okay, some guests. You'll like some of these. So, we've finally announced Chris Carter, of course, is going to be a guest, as well as Annabeth Gish, who plays Monica Reyes.
Okay.
Thought you might like John O'Hurley is one of their guests this time. You're giving me a look.
Who's John O'Hurley again?
Well, in X-Files terms, he played Dr. Polidori in Postmodern Prometheus.
He's Peterman.
He's Peterman from Seinfeld, yeah.
That's actually quite entertaining.
Yeah, I thought you'd like that one.
I like that.
We've got some writers as well, so both Glenn Morgan and Darren Morgan are there, as is Kristen Cloak. I might be mispronouncing her name. So she's the writer who wrote the episode we haven't got to yet, that's The String of Letters and Numbers.
Yes.
And she also played Melissa Ephesian in The Field Where I Died.
Yeah. So she's the teacher from Final Destination then?
Yes, I think she is.
Yeah, she has to be.
Now I'm thinking about it, yeah. And in terms of events, so they have finally announced what the Friday and Saturday evening events are going to be. So I don't have many details about what these actually entail, but on the Friday night, if you attend FileFest, you can come for the show at the Share Experience, and also stay for the movie. They're showing afterwards X-Files I Want to Believe. And on the Saturday night, we have what's titled Lights in the Sky, Beats on the Floor. So that begins with an X-Files trivia contest hosted by Lauren Kratiger and Carly Blake. Again, sorry if I'm mispronouncing your names. They're the creators of the X-Files retrospective. And what follows is an X-Files dance party.
I'm guessing some of it's going to be dancing to the disco version the remix version of the X-Files theme, but...
Well, it could be music from this episode we're about to talk about. It's got a lot of music in there.
I mean, it could. I don't think that's quite what the audience is looking for in terms of a place to dance to music. But I suppose we should get to the first of our two episodes, then, Improbable. Directed and written by Chris Carter and first broadcast on the 7th of April 2002. Guest stars. So, Burt Reynolds is in this episode. And it's credited different ways depending on where you look. So on the Wikipedia page for the episode, he's credited as Burt/God. On Burt Reynolds' individual Wikipedia page, he's credited as Mr. Burt.
Yeah, I've seen him written as Mr. Burt.
So, well, whatever you want to refer to him as. But he's been in a great many things. But of relevance is things like Deliverance.
Of course, yeah.
Everything you always wanted to know about sex but were afraid to ask.
It's a great title.
Smokey and the Bandit, and Smokey and the Bandit 2, and Smokey and the Bandit 3.
My God, there's 3 of them?
There are 3 of them. I'm not sure if Marion from Raiders of the Lost Ark is in all 3 of them. She's certainly in the first 2. Anchorman has the outtake from Smokey and the Bandit 2 in the middle of its credits, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Cannonball Run and Cannonball Run 2. All Dogs Go to Heaven.
Yes, he is.
Bean, which was a surprise. I'd forgotten that one.
The Bean movie?
Yeah.
Oh.
I think he's the general who shows up at the end.
Oh, I see.
Because they're giving Bristol's mother to someone, aren't they?
Mm.
Boogie Nights. And this one, I haven't seen it, but I have to bring it up just because we keep referencing it. So, he's in the Dukes of Hazzard film as JD Boss Hogg.
Oh, I love you too, Boss Hogg.
I can't hear you.
I love you too, Boss Hogg. It's a line from Spaced, if you're not sure. It's a UK comedy.
That was Boss Hogg.
I didn't know that was from Dukes of Hazzard. I've never seen it.
No.
At least now I know who
that
Boss
makes
Hogg
more
is.
Sense. One of the things we could have looked up ages ago, but it's far funnier not to know. He was in an episode of King of the Hill, and one of the weirdest ones on this is he's in Saints Row 3.
Okay.
as himself, as the mayor of the city.
Oh, fair enough.
So, elsewhere in famous people, there's Ellen Green, who played Vicky Burdick, who, of course, is in Little Shop of Horrors.
It's Audrey.
As Audrey. She also played her repeatedly on stage. She was also in Rockadoodle, one of Don Bluth's less successful films.
Yeah.
Wagons East, a film that I'm still certain I'm like the only person who's ever seen it. Leon the Professional. And of course, we know her best for Pushing Daisies.
Where she's Aunt Vivian, I think.
Yes.
Yep.
She was also in Hannibal, which I think I missed.
Yeah, I remember her being in Hannibal.
John Kefos was Fordyce, or Special Agent Fordyce. He was in The Breakfast Club.
Okay.
As Carl, who I don't remember who that is. The Craft. The Relic.
Oh.
Yeah, that Relic. Legally Blonde. Mimic 3. Seinfeld. Dead Like Me. Frasier. iCarly. And Umbrella Academy.
Okay.
And last is Ray McKinnon, who was Mad Wayne, or Wayno, or whatever his name is. He was in the film version of Needful Things.
Okay.
Apollo 13. The Net. But the good one that I don't think we'd ever manage to pick him out of. Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
Okay. So do you have a synopsis for Improbable?
I mean, yes, I don't know how much sense this is going to make, given this episode. At a casino bar, an unpleasant man known as Wayno meets a mysterious man, who seems to know a lot about him. The mysterious man speaks in an enigmatic way, but his words do not seem to make any difference to Wayno, who murders a woman in a casino restroom shortly after the mysterious man tells him to surprise him by leaving the casino rather than following the woman into the bathroom. Agent Reyes is investigating the woman's murder as the latest in a series of cases that she believes are linked by numerology. She realizes that when she adds the numbers of the letters in the victims' names and the numbers in their birth dates, a pattern arises. While explaining the case to Scully, who rejects the idea that numerology is relevant or that the world can be broken down into one simple equation, Scully discovers another possible clue. Marks on each of the victims' cheeks that look like 3 small circles, likely imprinted by the killer's ring while he beat the victims. On consulting a numerologist who happens to have an office in the same building as the killer's apartment, Reyes ties the murders together. However, the killer also finds a numerologist, murdering her as she is on the phone with Reyes. Reyes' numerology theories do not go down well at the FBI, but the pattern of killings, when viewed on a map, seem to line up as the number 6. After looking at the pictures of the victims, Scully realizes that the pattern on the victims was not 3 circles, but instead 3 sixes, the mark of the devil. Meanwhile, Wayno has several additional run-ins with the mysterious man, who continues to give cryptic advice. Scully and Reyes revisit the murdered numerologist's office and meet the killer in the elevator. Scully recognizes the ring on the killer's hand as the agents exit the elevator and draws her gun on him. The killer slips back into the elevator and gets to the parking lot first. Reyes and Scully arrive only to see a car fleeing the garage and the gate closing behind it. Scully and Reyes are locked in the garage without a key and a way out with their phones out of service. They see another person hiding in a car and demand that he come out. It is the strange man. He says he's meeting a friend to play checkers, but does not know when his friend is coming. He does not have any identification and does not have a phone. The pair demand that he open his trunk. Inside are many CDs. The man proclaims his love of music and a checkerboard. To pass the time, the mysterious man engages Reyes and Scully in a game of checkers. They play several rounds. Reyes eventually realizes that the checkers' colours, red and black, are surrogates for Scully, a redhead, and herself, a brunette. The pair realize that the last victim, the numerologist, victim number 7, was a blonde, and the murderer has been following the pattern of killing a blonde, then a redhead, then a brunette. Thus, a redhead and a brunette are the anticipated hair colours of the next 2 victims. Scully and Reyes also realize that though they assumed the car that exited the garage was the killer, it is possible the killer is still inside the garage with them. Scully and Reyes begin searching, but are surprised by the killer, who shuts off the lights, grabs Reyes, and eventually gets hold of her gun. However, Doggett, also realizing that the number 6 pattern is actually a 9, and that the killer must have intended to kill 2 more victims, arrives in the nick of time to shoot him. Reyes attempts to ask the killer why he did what he did, but the killer begins to mouth a word, but dies before being able to speak. Scully and Reyes realize that the mysterious man is no longer in the garage. At the end of the episode, Scully and Reyes are getting ready for bed. Scully calls Reyes and asks her what her assigned numerology number is. Reyes informs Scully that she is a 9, which means she has risen above the other numbers and understands that there is more to life than this world. The clock shows us it is 9:09. In a nearby Italian neighbourhood, an Italian festival is in progress. 2 men sing a comical and upbeat song in Corsican and lead a crowd through the streets. The camera zooms out to reveal that the entire neighborhood, when viewed from above, suggests the appearance of Burt's face, hinting at the fact he might be God.
Thank you.
It's just madness when you read out, isn't it?
It's a really good episode.
It is. I was going to say, it's actually remarkable that this is Chris Carter. Like, how did this happen?
It's a lot of fun. Apparently it was specifically written for Burt Reynolds as well, because he's actually a friend of Robert Patrick's and expressed an interest in being in an X-Files episode. So when Chris Carter was told this, he just found a perfect part for Burt Reynolds to play.
And he does it really well. It's absolutely no problems with him. I was going to say, I've been thinking about this for the last 2 weeks, and it's like two observations I keep coming up with. One is, Mitch Pileggi was not available this week.
No, we don't see him at all, do we?
Because Fordyce is basically a replacement for Skinner, because it doesn't make any sense otherwise. The other is, this is probably, I've been banging on this about all season, but how was Reyes not fired for this either?
Oh, come on. With the crap that Mulder's got away with.
Mulder has generally not gone to the head of the FBI with this kind of evidence, has he?
Well, this isn't the head of the FBI.
Well, okay, he hasn't gone to his superior. He's written reports out, though, and his is based on...
No, how many tribunals Mulder has come out with crazy at?
I think it's only 3.
Oh, only 3.
Only 3. But my point was, though, that Mulder tends to actually write reports that are based on observations, and Scully will back up that it's either inconclusive or some of it does support what Mulder's saying. Reyes has walked into a room saying, I've solved this string of murders, and when they ask her how, she starts going about neurology stuff. You can watch the temperature of the room just plummet as she's saying this.
She's not far out.
She's not. I'm not saying she's not wrong, but
it's like coming to the right conclusion for the wrong reasons, but she's not wrong.
She's not wrong, but I don't understand why they let her keep on going like this.
But it also shows the counterpart when the FBI use criminal process to profile the killer and get the most generic killer in the world.
Yes, I mean, I think that's a joke in Clyde Bruckman as well. When the police have talked to the Spanish Yappy, they've got a profile of the killer. And it's
like a white man aged 20 to 45.
Yeah.
And goes through what I learned recently is called something like the McDonald's triad. So it's the 3 indicators that a young person might grow up to be a killer. It's something like starting fires, hurting animals, and bedwetting are the McDonald's triad, which is basically this profile that they kind of pull up on everything.
Oh, yeah. I'm not going to say that Reyes is wrong in this, because he's obviously right, but it's the FBI's attitude to Mulder, because Mulder got in more trouble than Reyes seems to have got in trouble for this. It's such a strange episode, though. We can't get away from this. There is so much Italian music in this.
Yeah, the whole episode, or at least Mark Snow's score, is based on the music of a composer called Carl Zero.
Okay.
Whose actual music we do also hear a lot in the episode, like, as we noted, that song at the very end.
Yeah.
Which is called Io Mame Tu, I believe.
Yes, and you've been singing it ever since.
It's so catchy.
It is. I think it's actually it's a great episode. It's actually really hard to talk about, because it's where do you even begin with this? Because, I mean, say Burt Reynolds is God. We've got very much a God who doesn't intervene or intervenes in the most hands-off, distanced way possible. It's not clear, is it?
I don't think that's necessarily the case. It's presenting the universe. It's an episode about free will, basically. So you're presenting the entire universe as we know it as God's game.
Yeah.
So everybody's been given the cards to start with, and the whole process of the episode is depending on whether you play the game correctly and win, or like Wayno, you play your hands wrong and lose.
Yeah. But it's also, if we take Burt Reynolds as God, he does want to see free will exhibited, obviously, because that's what he wants Wayno to do, is stop doing it, and he's giving him every opportunity he can. At the same time, he actually does seem to have some kind of supernatural power that is never illustrated, given he got out of that garage somehow.
Yeah.
And we've no idea how he managed to do that one. And that's all nicely kept off camera and very restrained.
But think of it more like a Dungeons and Dragons party, where you, as the DM, are essentially God in that situation. You give people the tools at their disposal, and then watch as they self-destruct because they play the game wrong.
Yes. I was also wondering, though, if basically he has manipulated events so to get them into the parking garage to take Wayno out. I mean, it's he's given him so many opportunities and he's not deviated from his path. You can't let him go on any further.
True.
And also, that's reminded me that there's the funny line of what did Einstein say? God doesn't play dice with the universe. He just exclaims, Einstein, now there's a name.
Yeah.
But then it's, God doesn't play dice with the universe. He plays checkers, apparently. This is his game.
Yeah. It's so oddly positive, though, even though it's about a serial killer.
I know, when you get down to it, it's actually really brutal murder that this guy's doing every time, and we somehow can just gloss over that really easily. Which is quite an achievement, given that, that really is actually really awful what that's happening.
I did feel that the pins in the board forming the number 6, it was a bit too obvious what the twist was going to be there.
Yeah.
When they said, it's formed 6 on the board, but he's got 7 victims. It's like, there's no possible way we could be looking at this upside down, is there, guys?
Or we could just kept spiraling into the centre of it. But I do like that. It's just when Robert Patrick says, does this look like a 6 to you? It's like, no. I mean, could you make it a little bit more less obvious that it's a 6? I suppose we come on that one is we could barely remember Robert Patrick being it or remember him bursting in at the end just to shoot the killer, but he's just not in this episode.
No, it's a Reyes episode.
It is, and I feel for the first time someone's got a better grip on Reyes. Again, I come back to, I'm pretty sure she shouldn't be employed in the capacity she is, but it's more Reyes-centric. And also a Reyes and Scully twofer, which is actually really nice to see.
Yeah, it is good seeing them play off each other.
Because we don't get enough of that normally.
It also helps show that they are very different characters.
Yes. While Scully is more open-minded than she used to be, it's that point where Reyes does ask her about, the universe's mathematical formula.
Yeah. And
Scully goes into the more scientifically acceptable way of doing it. And Reyes comes back with, oh, yeah, but also, I'm just taking the letters in these people's names, adding them together with their birthday. It's like that, Reyes, can you just stop and think of, I know, you are right, I can't dispute that, but how logical it is for this to mean anything at all. Except as a subset to what Scully's saying. So if Scully's mathematical formula is correct, you're kind of brushing it with this weird numerology stuff. But you can't really see this vaster equation that would theoretically exist.
But numerology is a kind of fun thing to explore in supernatural settings. I mean, just look at the number 23. It's a great film. I was going to
say, they've got the 23. But one of the points of number 23 is proving it wrong, ultimately.
Ultimately, yeah.
In the released version, because there is the alternate ending where his son is falling prey to it, isn't it?
Yeah.
They set up how you think the number system works and why everything could be derived down to 23, and then eventually twist it over to reveal what's actually going on and how it's nothing to do with this.
Mm.
It's a pattern that you see when you start looking for the pattern.
Yeah, which is kind of the point of numerology.
Yeah. But it doesn't actually mean anything.
It's making sense out of things with mathematics where there is no sense.
It's kind of like Sudoku in that way. Well, no, because there was a whole thing where people thought they were into maths because they did Sudoku, and a lot of people pointed out it's like, no, it's 9 symbols.
Pattern recognition.
Yeah, it's 9. They just happen to be numbers. They could be 9 other symbols, and you'd have the same equivalent.
Yeah. So on a related note, do you want to know what your life path number is?
Go on.
Because, I mean, I was calculating this during the episode for you, so... You're a 5.
I'm a 5. I would like to be a 9, since 9 seems to be the one to aspire to.
Unfortunately, no, you're a 5.
I'm a 5, okay.
So I did intensive research on Cosmopolitan's website to find out what a life path number of 5 would be for you.
I'm going to say I don't think Reyes did anything other than that. Oh, she might not have gone to the website. Probably didn't exist yet, but...
Okay, so you are a free spirit, a restless soul, and an adventurer who is always looking for your next quest or horizon to chase. A life path of 5 means that you're always on the move, both physically, intellectually, and spiritually. This can include switching careers or changing relationships. You're not born to stay put. You are adaptable, brave, creative, innovative, inspiring, and persuasive. This means that in terms of career, you will be a natural for sales, marketing, PR, politics, or invention. You're always after the next big thing. The drawback here is that because you are restless, you can be fickle and easily distracted, so you need to develop discipline to reach your long-term goals. You also like to party and have a hedonistic edge. You are great company, but this can lead to excess and unhealthy lifestyle choices. For 5s, life is a balancing act, and you need to lean into your strengths of your fearless, independent nature and avoid the pitfalls of restlessness and discontent. I also looked at what your relationships would be like. So it can be tricky territory for you. Your major component is commitment, as sticking in one place with one person may not sit well for you, especially when you are young. Routine and expectation dulls your spirit, so it's likely that for some part of your life you will prefer short-lived but passionate and intense relationships. However, if you meet a like-minded free spirit, you can change. If adventure can be a key component in your connection, your relationship will endure. It also gives you celebrities that link to you, so you're a Drew Barrymore, you're an Ellen DeGeneres, you're a Mick Jagger, a Nicolas Cage, ooh, and an Eminem.
I don't know if I want to go through point by point and refute it all. I'm not that interesting.
You don't think you're a Life Path 5 then?
I don't think I'm a Life Path 5. I was thinking that just as you're doing it, how much of my name did you use?
Actually, according to this, your name doesn't feature. To be fair, she doesn't say that in the episode either. She says it's your date of birth. She uses the names to find a connection between the victims.
I thought she said it was both, but okay.
No, according to this, it's your date of birth that you add together on Cosmopolitan. And no, she did never say that you added the names in. She did that to find a connection between the victims.
Okay. Still going to say it's about as accurate as my horoscope, which is, I don't think ever really relevant. I mean, some of that sounds nice, but I would hate to be in marketing.
But you'd be so good at it.
I don't think I would.
The heavens say so. For the record, in case you needed to know as well, your heavenly bodies are Mercury and Jupiter, and your element is air.
I'm going to safely say that I'm unconvinced by numerology after that one. How about you?
I'm a 3.
You're a 3, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And how broadly inaccurate is this one?
I am expressive, creative, and charismatic, making me a born performer and influencer. I light up the room with my personality, and people love being around me because I've always got something interesting to say. I'm artistic and innovative, and love to find new ways to communicate my ideas, observations, and truth. People always want to know what I want to do next, as it's usually something unexpected. My life path embodies themes of self-expression and communication. Finding a way to channel my voice, story, and creativity can be a lifelong but very enjoyable quest. Because of my unique and authentic voice, I tend to rise to the top of whatever field I enter, becoming a leading expert and true voice. My positivity and enthusiasm are infectious, and others look to follow me when I lead. They want to be part of my glorious, fantastic, glamorous lifestyle. So my recommended careers are acting, writing, poetry, photography, music, travel, hospitality and events, public relations, journalism, retail, advertising, and sales. Being able to express myself is important. I have a rebellious streak, so corporate and traditional routes are not ideal. You prefer to gravitate towards new and upcoming companies with activist angles. I'm a confident individual who enjoys being asked to share my opinions and ideas, and enjoy developing a speciality and being treated as an expert in my chosen field. My relationship one said, I will be restless in committed relationships because I'm drawn towards the new and tested paths. It's not so different to yours, actually, there. Gossip and negativity can easily intrude on my relationships. However, I'm a good relationship builder because I attract people with my charisma. I must admit, for this one, I did have to Google separately what the downsides were because mine just sounds like the best person to be in the world. It does have downsides, according to another website I found, which said I can be egotistical and vain, which does seem to feed into that. And also my element is fire, and my solar bodies are Mars, Jupiter, and Mercury. But it also notes that my lucky colour is red, which fits in really well, as I keep saying in my stream that red goes fastest.
Fair enough. I mean, I can see bits of that. I mean, I think bits of my one applied, but it's like, I feel you could go out on a limb and then say, so the other people who are born on the same day as me and the same day as you, we could probably find there's a lot of people, and some of them will be celebrities, and some of them are going to match.
You can say that with horoscopes, though, because let's say I'm a Capricorn, that means every other Capricorn is exactly the same as me.
Exactly. I don't know why anyone believes in this stuff.
Because it's kind of fun.
It's kind of fun, and I suppose, there are the occasions when it does match up exactly, and that must be nice for you, but on the other hand,
It's like Reyes says. Reyes says in the episode she got into numerology because it's an icebreaker at parties. When I was at university, I used to do the same thing with tarot.
Yeah.
I'd offer to, tell someone's fortune with my tarot cards, and it was just a bit of an icebreaker at a party.
But you didn't solve a serial murder with the tarot cards.
I'm going to try now.
Okay. We don't tend to get many serial killers, and they don't tend to make the news until they've caught them.
Hey, if we ever do, I'm going to solve that case with my tarot cards. I can prove this now.
Fair enough. We might want to look up what the penalties are for engaging the police with this without any sort of substantive evidence.
Tarot is the evidence, Nick. Tarot.
Good. I mean, at least you're not employed by the police, so this can't go quite as badly wrong as I feel it would do if you were in Reyes' position.
You're not getting past that, huh?
It's kind of hard to, isn't it? I do like the episode, though, getting back to the actual episode, is kind of the bottle episode, and just the fact that our climax is 3 people trapped in a garage playing checkers.
With Burt Reynolds dancing around the whole time.
It's just so strange. The relentlessly positive man who, apparently God just walks the earth and plays 3-card Monty.
If he is God.
If he is God. Well, I mean, I don't know if the ambiguity is meant to be, is he the devil? Because you would think God would have stopped way no more directly than just kind of keep offering him second chances and just bothering him. Because it's like he stopped the FBI taking interest in him when they sort of almost crossed paths.
Yeah.
Which doesn't seem like the kind of thing that God would do. But then, if he's meant to be 9 and represented by that whole city, like none of the Italians dancing or in that street performance seem to be vindictive or evil or anything.
No.
So it doesn't really read that he can be the devil or anything.
That was apparently a standard New Year's celebration in Little Italy. Well, that's the form they take.
Okay.
Those kind of street parties.
You mean it always zooms out and Burt Reynolds' face is just made up of the city?
That is an impressively complex CGI sequence because they had to superimpose basically a CGI cityscape that they made that was vaguely in the shape of Burt Reynolds with an actual photograph of him.
Yeah.
And interestingly, there is an alternate ending where it's Chris Carter's face that was released as a bonus feature on the season 9 DVDs. I kind of like it being Chris Carter's face, to be honest, because he's like the god of the X-Files.
Yeah. I can see what they're getting at the same time. The audience is going to go, wait, is that Chris Carter? And they're going to be so...
I think actually a vast amount of the audience would probably wonder who on earth it was meant to be. Because, directors aren't actually in the episodes and you don't necessarily know their face.
Exactly. The best you're going to get is someone saying, is that Chris Carter? And that the joke will fall flat.
Yeah.
You go, wait, what? But yeah, I understand the impulse there. I understand what he's getting at.
I kind of like it in a way because it made me think of the ending of Die Hande die Verletzt.
Oh, yeah.
Where you just have Mrs. Paddock's last cryptic message saying goodbye on the board, but then leaving you wondering exactly who she is.
Yes.
In the same way, we never get confirmation of who Mr. Burt is.
Yeah, though Mrs. Paddock was clearly, not operating in quite as nice a way.
But at the same time, her last action is to save Mulder and Scully.
That's true.
She doesn't allow them to be killed when she could easily have done so.
It's true. It is a weird one where she managed to save them, yes, by making them people murder each other.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's it's a hypothetical season 12. I would want, unfortunately, Burt Reynolds has passed away, and I have no idea what Mr. Paddock actress is like, but the two of them back together, actually have them as the devil and God in another showdown.
It is interesting, and in a way, it's because the comedy episodes tend to be not in the same canon.
Yeah, that's true.
Because we've had so many religious episodes, which has kind of hypothesized the nature of Christianity and the nature of God, to actually have God as a physical being here.
That's true. I mean, you'd think he'd actually have something to say to Scully at this point, after all the things that she's been tasked with doing. She's meant to be guarding the
She's meant to be guarding the second coming, yeah. She also had that whole experience with the seraphim killing disfigured people.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean... well, we've observed that none of the X-Files fits together if you really sort of pick at it.
Mm.
You can occasionally nod to each other, from each other episodes, but yeah, none of it's consistent or coherent, really. It's the problem with good episodes. It's not so much to actually talk about, because it generally, is a really fun time.
It's funny, it's well acted. I'd say it's like a little oasis. Season 9 has been very dark so far, And it was nice to have such a kind of flippant episode.
It's been really dark, but it's also been really frustrating to watch. And our repetitive drumbeat of Reyes doesn't have a character.
Oh, this episode does flesh her out a bit more.
So it's good. I mean, this is way too late given the ending is approaching very fast now.
I did read, and we'll probably get to it shortly, that it was when they were halfway through filming Scary Monsters the next episode that they were actively told they would not get a second season. Because there was an anecdote where, after filming a scene, Robert Patrick was pulled to one side and told that this is it. So that was the point they knew during the filming of Scary Monsters.
As long as it holds that was before Jump the Shark and William, that explains far too much. Although they must have had them written beforehand. But that'd be... Yeah.
But yeah, the critical reviews at the time of Improbable, I was actually surprised because I wasn't sure how this would have been taken by contemporary audiences, but it was overwhelmingly positive.
Oh, that's good.
The most negative thing I could find, and I think it was the I Want to Believe guys, commented on the episode wasn't quite as clever as it thought it was.
No, that's probably fair. I mean, when you break it down to it, there's they don't move very far. They keep going back to the same building.
And it's a philosophical episode, but it's quite a simple philosophy to it.
Yeah. There is some debate about exactly who Burt Reynolds is during this, but it seems pretty clear cut when you sort of pick at it. And
we brush on the nature of free will, but we don't really spice anything up, especially. We're in no real question at the end about whether or not free will exists.
Yes. Which does fit more with how I understand the Christian belief goes, is that God has given mankind free will, and then he can't do anything else.
There's a philosophical idea that was broached by the philosopher Leibniz, which posits that it's an answer to the question of, if God is all-powerful, why is the world not perfect? And the response was, ours is the best of all possible worlds. It's the idea of, we can't understand God, we can't understand his motives, we can't understand the limitations of his power. So we have to accept the fact that the world is the way it is because this legitimately is the best the world can be.
I think the usual response to that is, yeah, if we take the Bible literally, he definitely could directly do some things. There's that flood that was definitely his fault.
But free will.
I know. Didn't mankind not have free will at that point?
Oh yeah, mankind has always had free will in the Bible.
But I mean, I think it's the whole volcanoes and floods and everything. These are natural aspects of the planet that presumably you could...
The best possible planet we can make.
I've never quite bought into this one. But I don't have enough philosophical capacity to actually sort of try and refute it. But I know you do keep bringing it out just to annoy me at times.
I know, it's good. It's a good source to annoy you with. Good old Leibniz, that's what he's given me.
Gonna poke at his monads instead. You were wrong about those, weren't ya? It's terrible I've got that from a Neil Stephenson book and not a historical record.
Is this the only reason you know what a monad is?
It is.
Well, at least you learned something.
Yeah, I learned that, and then the whole thing about him doing the calculus separately to Isaac Newton, and Isaac Newton, is one out.
It is worth, if you're interested in kind of philosophy of religion, reading Leibniz's letters, because he had an ongoing correspondence with Voltaire, who is an utter arsehole philosopher, played devil's advocate with him, just much like you, in fact, seemed to just like getting a rise out of Leibniz, and their letters are tremendously witty to each other.
I don't like to... Well, I can't get a rise out of Leibniz. I only knew Voltaire really from the whole... He's like name-checked in the Matrix, and that means something, and I can't remember what it was.
Good philosophy there.
I haven't studied philosophy. The most I've done is read Sophie's Choice.
Also philosophical?
Oh, sorry, Sophie's World.
Oh, Sophie's World,
Sophie's World.
I remember Sophie's World. That was big when it came out.
It was, because that was... there was some critical person pointed out to me, it's basically... The lecturer did just print out his course notes and just put a little bit of framing device around it.
Well, Sophie's World, when I was a teenager, is how I learned about Carl Sagan. And I'm so happy that Sophie's World introduced me to Star Stuffs, to be honest.
I did enjoy Sophie's World, but that's the best I've done in philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
Other than my course, my university course also touched on Alan Turing, but for really different reasons to what yours did.
I think that's actually really interesting, the fact that I studied philosophy and you studied computing, and we both... The convergence point is Alan Turing.
Yes, of all people. I mean, it's understandable why it happens, but it's really odd that that's the connection point.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'd done physics and you'd done philosophy, we'd have clashed with Leibniz again, because monads would have come up as the wrong.
True.
Or chemistry rather. Chemistry or physics. I can't possibly chemistry more than physics.
Well, philosophy was the natural science at one time. Yeah. You have a lot of elements of old philosophical thought that we've now disproven with science. I mean, look at a load of the Platonic world of the forms and those kind of ideas as well. And how we've touched on how we can kind of know the natural world. You know, how can we prove that a room doesn't cease to exist when we're out of it? Well, we have technological means that we can use to keep observing the room.
True, and imagine this philosophical thing of you're still observing the room.
Yes, that is the counter-argument.
Right, this has nothing to do with Improbable anymore.
Because we've run out of things to say on Improbable.
We have. Let's talk about
It's
Scary
great,
Monsters.
though. It's possibly been my favourite episode of the season so far.
Yes, it's kind of a shoe-in for one of the top 5 or top 3, depending on how far we have to limit this.
I did find that some reviewers put it in their overall top 10. It's a very highly regarded episode.
It is good. I mean, I think the problem for me, and we'll discuss this when we get to the end of the season, is how much of it is just the contrast to the rest of it.
Oh, thank God it's a good episode.
Oh, thank God I'm actually enjoying this.
Oh, thank Mr. Burt it's a good episode.
I'm enjoying this episode. But I feel we should talk about something less pleasant?
Scary monsters.
Actually, no, they are pretty nasty, the monsters, so we'll go with that. Less pleasant. Scary Monsters. Written by Dwight H. Little, written by Thomas Schnauz, and first broadcast on the 14th of April 2002. Guest stars Scott Paulin was Jeffrey Conlon, which I think is the dad.
Yes, it is.
He was in Teen Wolf. Not the TV series. The original Michael J. Fox film, which I think a lot of people don't know even exists. Because people were weirded out when they sort of said, oh, this great new TV series, Teen Wolf. Like, oh, what, of the film? And they go, the what? Forgetting there is a sequel film, which didn't have Michael J. Fox, and a cartoon.
I didn't know about those either. I remember the original movie.
Yeah. I've seen the sequel, I don't remember any part of it. I've seen the original one because it's about Michael J. Fox using werewolfism to win at basketball.
Yep, that's the one.
But then, yeah, there's a sitcom-y cartoon with the extended werewolf family, and some of them are perpetually wolf form and some of them aren't.
Oh, okay.
I remember bits and pieces of it. I don't know where I saw it, but yeah, it exists. He was also in Turner and Hooch, but far funnier, he's in Captain America.
Which Captain America?
The one from 1990.
Oh.
He was Red Skull.
Ah, cool.
And Steve Ryan was Sheriff Jack Coogan, who was in Daryl, a film I don't think anyone else has watched again about a robot boy.
Okay.
Daryl.
Yeah, I was trying to spell it in my head there.
Spin City. But we know him so much better for the man who loses his arm in Arrested Development.
To teach people a lesson.
So would you like to tell us about those scary monsters in people's stomachs?
Sure.
I'm not making this up.
And that's why you don't try to make funny taglines for X-Files episodes. Our episode this time opens in Fairhope, Pennsylvania, where we're introduced to a scared little boy called Tommy Conlon, who believes there are monsters in his room. He calls to his dad to look under his bed, and his dad sees a crawling, bug-like creature. However, he claims that there is nothing there and tells Tommy to go back to sleep. As Tommy spots the creature again and screams for help, Jeffrey, his father, holds the door shut and won't let his son leave the room. At the FBI headquarters, we are introduced once again to Agent Leyla Harrison, last seen in Alone, who meets with Scully to tell her about a woman who reportedly stabbed herself repeatedly in the stomach. Harrison insists that the case must be an X-file and believes that the woman was killed by a monster that her son Tommy saw. She also is convinced that the monster first murdered the family cat, Spanky. Scully is completely dismissive of this, so Harrison tricks Doggett and Reyes into investigating without saying that she had first spoken to Scully. The three of them arrive at the Conlon residence in Pennsylvania and talk with Tommy. Both Doggett and Reyes are in agreement very quickly that something weird is going on, especially when they see that his father is behaving quite erratically. However, immediately after this, they learn that their car will not start, and therefore they are trapped with the Conlons overnight. At Scully's apartment, she is visited by a young man called Gabe Rotter. He's a friend of Harrison's who has been told that if he could retrieve Spanky the cat's corpse, Harrison will go on a date with him. Noticing that there's something weird about Spanky's corpse, Scully does agree to do an ad hoc autopsy and realises the cat chewed out its own stomach as though it was trying to get something out. She also discovers this weird kind of cavity inside the cat where it looked like there was once something living. While staying at the Conlon house, Doggett, Reyes and Harrison all soon spot the monster. It's a large silverfish-like insect that multiplies when shot. Alerted by Scully, the local sheriff also arrives. However, something is seriously wrong with him and a fight quickly ensues. As the sheriff draws a gun to threaten the FBI agents, Doggett punches him in the gut only to see his hand go completely through the man's stomach. Reyes does a brief investigation of the sheriff's apparent corpse to discover he is essentially just a bag of blood with no noticeable internal organs. Later, sitting with Tommy, the little boy shows Reyes pictures he's been drawing. These include the sheriff with his gun, insect-like creatures, and Reyes with an obvious insect creature bursting out of her stomach. Reyes asks Tommy why he would do such a thing, and Tommy replies that he imagines them because he is scared. Downstairs, Doggett notices that the sheriff's body has disappeared, while Reyes appears doubled over in pain. As they lift up her shirt, they see something large moving inside her abdomen. However, unable to assist her, Harrison begins to bleed from her eyes. Doggett rushes upstairs to find Tommy drawing a picture, indeed of Harrison bleeding from her eyes, and orders him to stop. However, he then falls into a seemingly bottomless pit in the hall. Trapped at the bottom of the pit, Doggett is quickly attacked and overrun by the weird insects. However, because Doggett does not believe the creatures can possibly be real, he breaks the illusions, causing them to cease to exist. Doggett quickly pulls Tommy's father Jeffrey aside and explains that the creatures are all imaginary and have been totally produced by Tommy's overactive imagination. This includes the insects, the sheriff who has no organs, and both Reyes and Harrison's injuries. Jeffrey's wife and Spanky both killed themselves trying to remove the insect creatures inside of them because they did not have Doggett's foresight to realise it was an illusion. Using Tommy's powers against him, Doggett tricks and subdues him by pretending to set the house on fire, by pouring out a gas canister filled with water over the floor and lighting it, acting as though it's gasoline. This causes Tommy to pass out of pure fear, and he's eventually transported to a psychiatric ward, where they suppress his imagination by forcing him to watch a wall full of television screens.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, another good episode. Maybe the rest of the season will be really good.
I like this one. I think I'd be amiss, though, not to point out, apparently they were trying to quell any similarities between a very famous Twilight Zone episode called It's a Good Life. And the problem is, it is so flippin' close to It's a Good Life, it just has a happier ending.
Yes. I know it basically from the Johnny Bravo spoof. On The Simpsons.
The Simpsons does a great spoof of it too.
The Johnny Bravo one is, I don't think he actually resolves it because he just keeps getting teleported to the middle of the cornfield and has to run back inside the house every time.
So in the actual episode, it also forms a segment of the Twilight Zone movie, much like the Gremlins on the Wing one does. But the basic idea is it's an entire community that are trapped by this kid who has an imagination where he can make anything he wants real. And if anyone displeases him, he transports them to this limbo-like place they can't get back from called the cornfield. So everyone lives in constant fear, trying to appease a little boy's wishes, knowing that they're all going to die there because essentially the crops are dying because they can't take care of them and things like that. But also knowing that if the boy is ever unhappy, he has the power to kill them all, essentially. So it's a really bleak episode, and it just ends with essentially the boy summoning up a snowstorm because he wants to play in the snow, and then realising that this is going to finish off the crops, but all they can say is, you know what, it's a good thing that Tommy's made that snow, or Anthony, I think he is. It's a good thing Tony's made that snow.
I do like the Simpsons version. Johnny Bravo one is just actively surreal, where the cornfield is literally just outside the house. He just keeps doing it.
It is a literal cornfield.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think they've done their best to make this different from It's a Good Life, but at the same time, it's so similar, the concept.
It's barely trying. I mean, it's also odd that...
I think it's smaller scale is about all you can say.
Yeah, the level of influence seems to be just the house. Yeah, it's odd that this is coming after the Audrey Poorly, which also felt like a Twilight Zone episode.
Yeah, that's true.
I do like the sting as much as it is, because it feels at first like we've done this all before. Boy sees monsters in bedrooms. Father doesn't seem to believe him. Father holding the door shut so son can't escape is a new one.
It's a great misdirect, though, because at that point you assume the father's the villain.
Yes. And when he has bloody hands and he's trying to bury something in the garden. It's nice to see Leyla again.
She's still adorable.
She is. And not beyond conning people, apparently.
Well, she's absolutely right. It is an X-File.
It is an X-File, but it's odd that we've got a few different... We've had... This is another weird repetition with this in Improbable of two people insisting that things people say aren't X-Files, they're X-Files. They are both correct, otherwise we wouldn't have a series, but it's interesting that both of them have done the same thing here.
Yeah. I do like that first scene with Leyla and Scully as well. It's quite nice, where Scully's just trying to eat her sandwich and she's showing gruesome photos of this case.
I know you go back to accounting, Leyla, but use your head, please.
You got 5 minutes while you eat the sandwich. Have a picture of a woman who stabbed herself 17 times in the stomach.
I'm trying to remember if I sort of already had an inkling of what was going on. I just remember the last time we watched it for why she might have stabbed herself 17 times in the stomach. It's very obvious you can't think it can't possibly be that simple. You do have to wonder about how the boy has wound up this weird, really. Or, what he's scared about, he isn't expressing it as something he's afraid of happening to him. It's things happening to people around him.
I got the impression that the "because I'm afraid" thing is a lie.
Well, yeah,
it's the way he delivers it with "because I'm scared."
Yeah,
it's the budding sociopath kind of child in the making. Is he's not scared? He's using that as an excuse because he knows he can hurt people.
Charming, really.
I'm just a little boy and I'm so scared and I can't help brutally murdering everyone around me.
Which he did.
But it's clever at the end the way Doggett uses this same imagination against him. Okay, this kid's imagination is so powerful he's using it to kill people. I'm going to get that little git.
Using nothing but water.
No,
that was good. And were the beetles just beetles? Were they weird?
The review calls them silverfish more than beetles. So a silverfish isn't a beetle.
No, they are just insecty things, aren't they?
Insecty things. Wash your mouth out. They're not insects. They are arthropods, however.
Okay.
They're the ones that you often find they can infest houses quite easily. You often find them at the bottom of vegetable drawers and things.
Yeah.
And they are notoriously hard to catch because if you catch them, they just disintegrate into nothing. They're fascinating little creatures. But they're very quick, they look almost fish-like. That's how they've got their name. They've got very thin, tapered bodies and silvery scales.
Okay.
But no, they are not insects.
Sorry. I didn't think they looked much like silverfish, though.
They do look a bit like... I'd say they look more earwiggy, personally, but the descriptions of them online always refer to them as silverfish.
Okay.
But they've got kind of pincers like earwigs.
Yeah, that's more what I was thinking of.
And obviously they don't conform to any real creature because this is a boy imagining a scary insect. So they've got the funny body shape. They don't conform to any kind of like normal insect body tone. They've got the clacky little pincers. If you kill one, it comes back as 2 smaller ones. This is nothing. A lot of the X-Files insects I can attribute to actual insect species. This is pure fantasia.
Okay. It's a bit different to normal, though.
But they're cool. I keep them as pets.
It's kind of strange how they managed to play the whole cat autopsy for laughs, and it does kind of work, or it does mostly work. I do think the guy looks a bit clean for someone who apparently has dug up a cat. And where was this cat buried that he could actually dig it up?
Well, it's presumably
grandma's house.
It's presumably at the original family home because they've kind of retreated, haven't they?
Yeah, up a mountain.
Up a mountainside. So presumably we left Spanky behind at the original home. Poor Spanky.
Poor Spanky. In fact, he's called Spanky as well, and just I think was it an attempt to have the weirdest autopsy skill he's ever going to have?
It's not only that it's the weird autopsy of her autopsying a long dead cat, but the fact that she's got to do it using household implements in her kitchen.
Yeah, and you do want to say is did she have to order entirely new kitchenware the next morning because they're not using any of it again?
I think that after it's been inside the body cavity of a very dead cat, you're not going to be using that kind of knife again, are you?
No. This is another hard one to talk about, isn't it?
I think it's actually a really good episode. Well, you complained when we were watching it that Agent Harrison was out of character. Do you want to go with that?
I will retract that one because in memory I thought she was more out of character, but it wasn't. Something's got mixed up in my memory at least.
Okay.
She was fine. There wasn't anything all out of sorts. I remembered some weird thing in her attitude or something, which made me think that she was now acting differently to how last time she showed up.
It should be noted that this episode was written by the same guy who wrote Lord of the Flies, which was another strong comedy episode of this.
Oh yeah, that was a season.
Yeah, it was this season, and it's got a similar tone as well, because it's not an outright comedic episode, it's still quite scary.
Yeah, but it's an enjoyable romp, shall we say.
Yeah, it's enjoyable, it's got some kind of lighter tone moments, but it's still pretty dark, and it's still pretty gruesome for an episode as well. Both of them are quite grisly episodes, or at least they're quite gross episodes.
Yes.
Interestingly, both focusing on insects as well.
Yeah, it must be his particular interest.
I also liked the fact about this episode that it gave all of our key players something to do, because one of the things that you in particular have picked up quite a lot is the fact that Reyes and Scully aren't really that defined.
No.
But because you've kind of split Scully out from the other two, all of the major players in this episode do have little different things to do, and they're all notably different.
I would agree, though I will note that even saying that, Scully falls into the same trap she always does, though. She's doing an autopsy. That's her thing now.
Well, she's not a field agent anymore.
I know. And she used to do autopsies a lot with Mulder. It just feels like Season 9 has made Scully's persona is the autopsier.
Mm.
Should we call her that from now on? The autopsier.
I don't think that's the title for someone who does an autopsy.
It is now. No, I think the problem is it's just an actually good episode. Again, it all works, all fits together. Yeah, because the conclusion is odd because it is and isn't the same as the end of DPO.
It does actually cite DPO in the episode as well.
And if that feels really odd because it's where are you getting that from? That was kind of feels like it's plucked out of the blue.
I did kind of like it. It was something Leyla did in her first thing as the X-Files fangirl.
Yeah.
Is she likened it to previous adventures that Mulder and Scully had. I don't think DPO entirely fits this tone so well in this episode.
And I think her reasons for bringing the case up actually didn't make any sense.
Personally, if we're talking about a case affecting a child, maybe we could have likened it to detours, with the creature actually targeting a child and coming back for it. Or we could have likened it to one of the ghost ones, like Born Again or something like that.
We can't escape that episode.
But again, it's an episode, or Kalishari.
Oh, Kalishari, yeah.
Where a child is being targeted by a supernatural force.
No, that's fair.
I mean, even when you get to the point where you realise that the kid is absolutely evil, we could cite Eve.
Yes. Yeah. Though I do wonder if that's a limitation of Thomas Schnauz's familiarity with the previous series.
I did also like the bit where Doggett played into the same thing, where Doggett, I think, referenced Field Trip and said, oh, there was that time when Mulder and Scully started tripping on hallucinogenic spores.
Yeah, you want to be a bit more precise about how that would work there, Doggett.
Interestingly, that was one of the things that this episode was criticised from, was citing better episodes, essentially.
Yes. Well, you reminded me, I think, while I generally have a problem with Leyla in this episode, I do think her characterization has been pushed into a bad point.
Oh, yeah.
She has always liked Mulder and Scully as a concept or as a duo. It's the Poochy effect of how she refers to Mulder in this one feels like you've missed something.
Would you care to explain the Poochy effect?
The Poochy effect comes, of course, from The Simpsons, where a new character is added to Itchy and Scratchy, who's called Poochy, who winds up being voiced by Homer Simpson for reasons that don't actually make any sense when you break them down, but in order to make a Simpson episode work, he gets the job. And Poochy takes over Itchy and Scratchy, and apparently not understanding why people dislike his new character, Homer comes up with a list of requirements for the show, one of which is, if Poochie's ever not on screen, the other character should say, hey, where's Poochy?
He's essentially a cousin Oliver.
Yeah. It's an accusation you see referenced and accused of other shows like...
The Brady Bunch.
Like the Brady
cousin Oliver. Something we'll get to later.
True, but I've also seen it cited for the Evangelion Rebuild films, where someone accused it of, if Shinji is ever off screen, all conversation oriented about what Shinji is doing now.
The introduction of a new character, I think in Western culture, Scrappy Doo's possibly your best bet.
He is, and the weird thing about Scrappy Doo is he is more or less badly handled depending on who's doing it and which season you're watching, because sometimes he works and sometimes he doesn't, and people only remember the bad times.
However, it's the entire joke of the Scooby-Doo live-action movie is how Scrappy Doo tanked the series, essentially.
And then became the villain.
Yeah.
Just to ruin Scooby-Doo for you. Leyla is doing a Poochy thing with Mulder, because it's something like she comes right out and says, if Fox Mulder was here, he'd know what to do. And it's like, Leyla, no. That feels too far.
I think, interestingly, though, as much as Leyla views Mulder as the hero, Mulder would know what to do, Mulder would have been sunk in this situation.
Yeah.
It is a situation that only Doggett can physically win.
To be fair, she does make that point as well at the end.
Yeah.
At the same time, though, I think Layla's fangirling is funny, but that level of fangirling is too far. That doesn't feel realistic for it to be, if Mulder was here. It's like, yeah, but he's not.
Oh, I've got it. The situation we can cite that this episode most apes.
Go on.
Fresh Bones.
Yes.
Where power of suggestion causes Scully to hallucinate mad things.
That's very true. So I return to the early point of, I do wonder if Thomas Schnauz is not familiar after a certain juncture of the series. Because it was a point made of Grimbeard Diaries, who does YouTube reviews of old games.
Okay.
Occasionally new games, but mostly old games. One of the things he reviewed was the Buffy the Vampire Slayer Xbox game. And one of the points he made on that was, none of the actual show writing staff was involved. What you got was people who did some of the comics and novelization spin-off stuff, and as art production, not like the season 8 stuff. This is during broadcast.
Okay.
And it was the point of, they are people who write Buffy stuff. They're not necessarily good at writing Buffy stuff because they never worked on the show. They aren't responsible for any of the big moments. And one of the points was, some of the references in the game are the kind of things fans do, because the writers of these shows don't do minutiae in the same way.
Okay.
Because, like, I'm trying to think, I can't think of a good example. There are several hundred of them. Like, fan stuff will zero in on really tiny things. I mean, the one that keeps coming to mind, and it's a really stupid one, is C-Lab 2021.
What a reference.
What a reference. There's the one with the whale who wants to die.
Oh, yes.
And Marco, or is it Stormy? Stormy has written fanfic, and he's talking to this whale because he used to be on his favourite TV show. And he's trying to tell him about this thing, and there's this one character who is in half of an episode, and who shot at one time. And everyone's going, I have no idea who you're talking about. We just shot the thing.
Yeah.
But it's like, Stormy encapsulates all the fandom way of operating on focusing on really minor characters and making them integral to things when they're not. And the professional writers would not bother with this and just breeze past it.
A modern version of that, and a real life version of that I see in my circles a lot, is the fandom that surrounds Has Been Hotel and Hell of a Boss.
Actually, yes, yeah.
Where you have things like, there will be background characters in the pilot episode that fans have honed in on and decided that they're going to be deeply significant, even though it's just like a silhouette in a crowd scene or something like that. And they'll be forever asking, oh, when's this character going to come back? When are we going to find out their names? That things. And I imagine for a lot of it, the answer's going to be, they're just a background character in this long shot in one song.
Exactly. Modern fandom has this weird focusing where you ignore the principal cast.
Yeah.
I mean, you can make the case that happened in the Star Wars sequel series where forget Rey, forget Poe, forget Finn, we're going to focus on Hux and
Kylo Ren.
The Has-Been's a good modern one for focus on the leads. They're the people the writers care about. They don't really care about secondary and tertiary cast are there to support the primary cast.
Yeah.
They're going to be fleshed out to a degree, but they're not where their creative energies are going. We've wandered really off base. But anyway,
You're talking about fandoms and Leyla being a fangirl.
Yeah, and it's that kind of So again, admittedly, if Leyla was that kind of fan, she's not. She actually is focused on the main core of the series, or series as it used to be. If she was that kind of fangirl, she would be saying, if Jose Chung was here, he'd know what to do.
Yeah. I like the balance of this episode, though. I've got a dark sense of humour. I do consider this to be a comedy episode, but it's not a comedy episode like the likes of Clyde Bruckman and Jose Chung.
No.
Because it's a lot closer to being one of the pure scary Monster of the Week episodes. And it does have a creepy monster and some moments that are quite nasty. I mean, like the shock moment when Doggett punches through the sheriff. It's funny, but it's still grotesque and kind of creepy.
Yeah. I think it's one of these ones where it does oscillate between the two of them, because, like, all the cat stuff is pure comedy.
Yeah.
Like, everything is going on, like, Scully asking him to hold the ribs apart and everything while she goes to answer the phone and things.
It's much akin to that autopsy that Langley watched that made him ill.
Yes. No, I mean, it's a recommendation. I mean, it's like, there's been 3 episodes I think we've actively enjoyed this season.
And none of them have been serious ones.
And, well, we did find that some of the 3 to 5, it was the serious ones weren't doing it in the same way. They weren't quite, nothing like season 9. But the ones you enjoyed the most were the comedy ones, generally.
I think that's, well, the X-Files dilemma is the comedy episodes are often excellent, but you can't have them in isolation.
Yeah.
You need to understand the series to really, really enjoy the comedy episodes.
And I think we did make that point a few times when we did season 2 and 3, and it's good that it wasn't until Humbug that anyone tried. Because without nearly 2 seasons worth of stuff, this wasn't going to hit home as being the different.
Yeah.
But there were criticisms, like in season 5 and 6, I think, where people saying there were too many comedy episodes, and it was you've gone too far the other way because you need the black tone of the rest of the series to make the comedy stuff actually work.
It's the fact that in a standard Monster of the Week episode, you might have, Mulder making a snarky comment, but the actual tone of the episode is incredibly dark.
Yeah. Yeah, he'll produce levity, but he won't detract from the seriousness of the case. Except, of course, for Psychic Seniors.
I was thinking of Shelsh's Day then as well.
Where because I think we complained a bunch at the time of just how badly both of them were written in that.
Yeah.
And just their attitudes. Mulder's attitude was absolutely terrible, all things considered.
And Shelsh's Day really has not aged very well.
No, that was really bad to revisit.
And there are some other comedy episodes which I don't think have aged well. I will still make Small Potatoes my hill to die on.
And the Postmodern Prometheus.
Yes, that as well.
It's just not palatable. Do you have anything else for this episode?
No, I think that about covers it, to be honest.
So, we're going to take... Next week, we're not here next week because we're on holiday. And genuinely, we're on holiday not because we feel we need an extra week to get through these next 2 episodes. Because we've been dreading these 2 for a long time. Yeah, next time we're watching Jump the Shark and William. Oh boy. If you'd like to get hold of us, especially if you'd like to defend William as a genius artistic statement, or Jump the Shark is some bold new TV from 2002, our email address is thingsagainstrange42@gmail.com.
You can also find us on social media, and do hook me up if you want me to promote anything at the start of the show, as I've been doing for FileFest. We're on Twitter and Tumblr at GetStrange42, on Mastodon at GetStrange42@universedon.com, and on Facebook, where you can find us by searching for Things Are Getting Strange and X-Files Rewatch Podcast. Additionally, and if you're not sick of my voice right now, I also stream live on Twitch TV under the name AdverseCamber42. My main stream is live Mondays and Wednesdays at 8 PM GMT and Saturdays at 5 PM GMT, where I'm currently playing Yakuza 5 Remastered and Night in the Woods.
We have a Patreon, patreon.com/thingsagainstrange, where for as little as $3 a month, you can have access to our bonus episodes, which includes our Let's Play of the X-Files game, starring Craig Wilmore, and the body of Craig Wilmore, and the skeleton of Craig Wilmore, and possibly the red smear of Craig Wilmore? I can't remember how badly we killed him.
I do remember that time where we just had his shin bones left.
Yeah. Although, there's the subatomic ash left behind when Mulder incinerated him.
Ah yes, we do have the subatomic ash of Craig Wilmore as well.
Unfortunately, I don't think we saw a body now. I think the screen just went white when we were prompted to reload, but it's a fun time, or hopefully it's a fun time, as we managed to navigate through an FMV game where Mulder and Scully are theoretically in it. To be fair, they actually are in the game, just not in it a lot.
You get more of Skin Man.
We get more Skin Man, and even he sort of bows out really quickly.
Mm.
What's that? I've done enough filming for my contract. Bye.
You also get the likes of the Lone Gunman and Mr. X in there too.
And Cancer Man if you die at the wrong place.
That's the only time you get to see him, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
Our theme music is a vision by Kevin MacLeod. You can find it on Compotech.com, licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 3.0. Thank you all for listening, and until next time, please remember...
DOT Ammer.